Assalamu alaikum everyone. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Ameen. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعلني وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي أشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone again. Inshallah, we're gonna continue with the race, the shining proof second station. We were discussing about how mysterious this universe is and how the Quran, there's a written Quran and then there's the universe which can be taken as a Quran and our feelings. So all those things coincide in terms of helping us guide with the message. And in terms of what we were, I'm just trying to recall what we talked about in terms of how do we understand that God must be absolute, or is the notion of the creator of the universe. One is with the information and knowledge base, but one is more in terms of understanding, when we say ahad or wahid, God is one. So it's not in terms of the numbers, what do I do with that, but it's more in terms of how I understand this being as my source of existence, in terms of there is nothing like this being in this universe. Everything that I see and experience around me shows signs that they are created, and nothing shows the qualities that they can give existence to anything. So this is the grandeur of the absoluteness of the creator. And thus, as the introductory paragraph had mentioned, through the mystery of the Quran of dignity, inscribed with particles of ether on an atom, or minutest particle not being of less eloquence or wondrous art than a Quran of grandeur, written with the ink of the stars and suns on the page of the heavens. Everything that we see around us in the universe, from the particle to everything, shows amazing qualities, and it shows what the maker or the owner of these things could be, gives us the idea. So the blooming rose is not being of less eloquence and art than the star Venus, nor the ant being inferior to the elephant, nor the microbe inferior to the rhinoceros, nor the bee inferior to the date palm. Moreover, the extreme ease and speed in the creation of things caused the people of misguidance to confuse formation with self-formation. Yeah. So confuse formation with self-formation is an important point that we can, every day we go through that phase, thinking that the thing is coming from itself, whereas when we think about it, the thing has no quality to come into existence by itself. And we fall into the notion of cause and effect, that this thing caused this, or I turn on the stove fire and the water boils. So all that in the way it seems, and what science would say, that this is something, yeah, the fire is the cause of the heat. But then we see all of them, the fire, the boiling, the water, all of them need to be given existence at the same time altogether. So something to keep in mind. And then, yeah, so self-formation, which necessitates innumerable impossibilities and is a delusion, which we have to get out of that delusion, while it proves to the people of guidance that in relation to the power of the universe's creator, particles and the stars are equal. So in relation to the power of the universe's creator, particles and the stars are equal. May his glory be exalted, for there is no God but he, God is most great. So we did read first paragraph. I'm going to skip what the personal reference is. So that is, if a Quran of mighty stature was written on a particle, which is supposed to be indivisible and called in the science of theology, kalam, and in philosophy, Johar-e-Fard, in particles of ether, which is matter even finer. And if another mighty Quran was written in stars and suns on the pages of the heavens, then the two were compared. The microscopic Quran, written in particles, would not be inferior in respect of marvels and miraculous art than the vast Quran, gilding the face of the heavens. Indeed, in some ways, it would be superior. So it's in terms of science of theology and philosophy, there are two different kind of sciences. And there's a comparison in terms of when we see the things in the universe, we may say that, hey, look, the rhinoceros is bigger, or the elephant is bigger than, let's say, the ant, and it's more, it seems to have, it may seem more superior in terms of the how we see the creation. But when it comes to the power of an absolute, if we think about what absolute means, anything created, they are all exactly the same. Doesn't matter if it's a particle or if it's a planet or a galaxy or the universe. So in terms of the absolute, everything is exactly the same. So let's continue with the next paragraph. Unless anybody wants to comment or has any comment, just please feel free to go ahead. In exactly the same way, from the point of view of the originality and eloquence in their creation, in relation to the power of the universe's creator, the rose is not inferior to the star Venus. The ant is not inferior to the elephant. And a microbe is more wondrous as regards to its creation than a rhinoceros. And with its marvelous inborn faculties, the bee is superior to the date palm. This means that the one who creates the bee can create all animals. The one who raises a single soul to life can raise to life all men at the resurrection of the dead and gather them together in the arena of the great gathering, and will gather them together. Nothing at all must be difficult for him, for before our eyes, every spring, he creates and we observe it 100,000 samples of the resurrection with the greatest ease and speed. Okay, so we see that how the universe is coming and the different elements and things that are observable, each and everything. And look at this, the one who raises a single soul to life can raise to life all men. It's something that, you know, that makes sense. That, yeah, if anything can give existence to one thing, must be the source that can give existence to everything. Or, yeah, so far how you have your hand up, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. So in light of your summary and what we're reading, I'm just going to attempt to understand this. I think the main subject of these two paragraphs, in terms of content, is this idea that something as insignificant as an insect or a microbe and something as significant to the human sort of eye and physical senses as a star, they are essentially portraying the same truth. So this theme, I want to understand it in the light of what we discussed last week and see how it applies. Yeah, I'll just attempt and we'll see. So from last week, I think what I understood was that the human consciousness is not satisfied with just the statement that God is one, and so in the face of this dissatisfaction, it looks for the human experience looks for other things to understand the concept of, I guess, the creator. And okay, so let me just, so when the human consciousness is not satisfied with just a statement, sort of a logical conclusion that, a creator must be one, and it is looking for other ways of understanding the absoluteness of the creator, it is, I guess, to the human mind and the intellect, this matter, let me see how to put it in other ways. I thought I had it in my mind and then I just suddenly lost track. Let me think about it and raise my hand again.
All right, whenever you feel comfortable, please go ahead and raise your questions and hand again. So with the one God, for example, Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, and then it follows by Allahu Samad. So I think in one of the previous steps, we did talk about the besottedness of God. So there is a qualification that goes along with what that oneness means. So by oneness by itself needs to be further delved into. That's what I took away also. But if anybody would like to share or add to this, like have some comments on that they please feel free to do that. So that's the terminology we spoke about. That why do we use absolute as a terminology? Because it is something. There's some words I think that were mentioned that are not in the Quran. And let me see, was it wajibul was one of them, and I think mutlaq is what Brother Ali spoke about in terms of the infinite. So in theology, I think that they try to explain what that absoluteness or what that ahad or ahadiyya means in terms of this being that we are thinking of. Because as a knowledge wise, we may say, yeah, he is one, but then I may think that the milk is coming from the cow, or for example, is produced from the cow. So one may fall into that, although I may say, yeah, there is one God. But when we see that everything in the world is, the one who is bringing the milk or the cow into existence is something of an infinite being. So everything else falls into the created category. Yeah, go ahead, Farah.
Okay, attempt number 2. I think the discussion left off where the idea, because the concept of absolute or infinite is not definable, it is something that has to have another element to it, which is the experience or the satisfaction of the human feelings alongside of it. So while, we can intellectually conclude on a single God, that does not necessarily satisfy the concept of an absolute being, which is in its essence an undefinable concept. And so in the face of this sort of conundrum of a undefined infinite, how does man, a human being, really find certainty in their belief of, this creator being absolute? And what I understood from now this sort of applying it to this situation is that what you can actually only understand both intellectually and what sort of satisfies your feelings is, or what is in the realm of comprehensibility, is the finite world, or and so our experience itself, which needs to satisfy us from, ultimately what we discussed last week was this matter of this conclusion in the heart, or this consistency in the heart of what the mind presents and what your feelings are requiring. And so if I'm applying that particular concept to this particular idea of looking at creation, I'm just guessing at this point here that the concept ties into saying, bringing your attention into the reality of this universe from sort of the aspects of both your um, logical conclusions, but also what your feelings are sort of looking towards. Again, I think this actual examples that over here are sort of being repeated about the microscopic and the macroscopic being one. I think I still need to want to think a little bit about that exact connection. But in little summary, because the concept, one, the human experience or consciousness is not satisfied by just a statement or a logical conclusion that there must be one creator. And because the idea of the something as absolute and infinite is indescribable to the human experience, it's incomprehensible to the human experience, the only way that it could be understood is by a human experience that satisfies the feelings of human consciousness that recognize or look or want, or recognize, let's say, an infinite side of creation. But I have to think a little bit more about what this microscopic and macroscopic equation means to understanding the, to coming to a certainty of the absolute nature of the created being.
Okay, sure. Thanks for your comments. Yeah, for example, let's say I'm building a house. That's an easy task compared to if I'm constructing a building. It's a humongous task. I have to take care of a lot of logistics and other things that I need to take care of. So from a human perspective, these micro and macro, it makes a difference. But we're talking about a being that is, again, infinite or absolute, as we call it. But the understanding behind that word, those words, is something that is not of the nature of the created thing. So everything that comes into existence doesn't matter if it's a particle, if it's micro, or if it's macro. It must be the same, because the source of existence is that an absolute being who is not subject to the conditions that the created beings are in. So, Brother Ali, go ahead.
Good points. One, God being one, God being single, these expressions are not really satisfactory, but they are used in the Quran. Excuse me. But the Quran uses human language. What do you mean by human vocabulary? But turns all the human vocabulary into concepts. It means a kind of terminology, terms, which has given or loaded its meaning according to the subject matter or the general subject matter. For example, the same word, if you check some words in the dictionaries, it says is biology. In daily language, it means this. In biology, it means this. In mathematics, it means completely different something. Exactly the same way, the same word in the Quran is completely different what we understand. But of course, in our daily language. But of course, Quran doesn't say that, okay, you have to understand the meaning of the words I'm giving to you by attributing it to my own context within the Quran itself. Of course, sometimes it seems to be doing that. Sometimes it explains. First of all, we have to bear in mind that the Quran means the speech of the Creator. It means something is not within the universe, but all the parts of the universe refer to its existence, necessary existence. And he comes in and says, yes, as my work witnesses to me, here I am, and I'm explaining to you. He says, Allah is Ahad. Qul huwa Allahu Ahad means this. Or when you say this universe must have a creator, or must have a source of its own existence, it is existence. So this thing which human mind easily comprehend, that the things must have a cause of existence. This thing is Allah, and He is one. We discussed this earlier, but it will be a repetition, but just to the point now, especially Farah's comment is concerned. It doesn't stop there. As Asim said, is Samet. It means everything is in need of him in order to come into existence, in order to have these qualities which appear on them. And also, he is not in need of those things for his own existence or for his qualities. It seems to be okay, but the Quran doesn't stop there. It carries on. It is a very interesting following verse. Is the most explicit verse to me to explain oneness of God, which is, I mean, strangely enough, it was generally misunderstood in a very narrow way, and also in historical context only. For some reasons, I can guess the reasons. There's a legitimate reason the Prophet explained in this way. Or I understand why it is the capacity, according to the capacity of those people. Now, we may enlarge the meaning there, according to the capacity of the knowledge that we have in our time. That is how we should understand the Quran and the Hadith narrations. Lem yelid ve lem yulad. Literal means they said he has not begotten. It means he has not given birth to anything, and he hasn't been born by anything. But what does it mean? Of course, This is how the Quran uses, usually by using these analogies. For example, mother gives birth to a child. Of course, the examples or the analogies must be given within the capacity of human beings so that they can make sense of it. Mother gives birth to a child to a certain extent, maybe different gender, doesn't matter, but he's a human being. He has some sort of qualities as the mother has, the body, the human qualities, senses, ear, eye, heart, well, I don't know, stomach or whatever, legs, head, or at the end, the child is grown and you understand that maybe child may have more capacity than the mother had. It means it's a kind of inheriting the qualities of the mother, a kind of. That is how the creation is taking place. And the Quran says, when I say God is one, it means this one has not given any quality transferred to anything else than other self. Lam yalid. He has not begotten anything. He has not given birth to anything. It means there is nothing in the universe who has any kind of inheritance from the quality of its creator. So it is very simple. It makes the case very simple for us to understand that universe, according to the teachings of the Quran, it is the claim of the Quran, anything of the universe cannot have any quality which he or it demonstrates on it from itself. It is given. The qualities are manifested on them, not that they are driven from the thing itself. For example, the quality of the art, a piece of art, cannot be driven from, taken from, it is molecules or atoms of its paint. So the qualities are given to it. It is an human example, of course. Qualities are given to it by its artist, and artist has nothing to do with the quality of the paint. And artist cannot, it's then how the creation is taking place. Artist cannot give, pass on to any part of paint to be able to become an artist, small artist, but they grow, of course. Small artist, no. Or the quality of being an artist, no. Paint is paint forever. And the molecules of the atoms of the paint is atoms of the paint forever and subject to the order and cannot produce any kind of art, small or big, minute or really magnitude, this impossible. That is how we perceive Lam Yalid. Well, Lam Yulad is the opposite. The artist has not received these qualities from anything else, like the art, the piece of art received its art from its artist. Never. So we can only say, according to description of the Quran, what ahad means, what one single means. This, a being who has not passed on any of his qualities to anything, just manifestations of his qualities. For example, however the big mirror you can say, you can imagine, reflecting the light of the sun, the mirror can never, ever become a source of light like the sun is in the created world, in the example of the created world. We can only use them as analogies. So to understand the difference between reflections and the source of the reflection. The mirror can show an object, they must reflect the appearance of the object in itself, but it can never ever inherit the qualities of the object it is reflecting. Never. That is how God describes himself. So we see that as the piece we read today. Actually, we read it last week as well, to some extent. We didn't study it deeply. Now, it is clearly stating that nothing in the universe has any kind of quality that will be the source of its existence, source of the existence of the qualities that appear, is reflected on them. In this respect, everything manifests the qualities of the one who is, again, in the language of the Quran, Qayyum, self-existent one. Neither gives nor inherits, nor passes on to another being, nor inherits. Because of the similarities in Christianity, that in Christian theology, that God reflected himself and became in the form of a Jesus in this world, appeared to be a Jesus. That's why the prophet made it easy for the people to understand this giving birth to God, giving birth to anything represents Christian worldview, as it is Talin. But why is it that? It is an open statement. What do you mean by Christian theology? Christian theology means that God had an appearance in the form of Jesus, means Jesus has been a born or adopted son of God. That is why this verse is referred to Christian theology. Otherwise, because of the similarities, and also helps us to understand what is wrong with the Christian theology, but we shouldn't really limit the meaning of this beautiful verse explanation to Christian theology only. Now we can understand now why the text says the one who creates the bee can create all animals. Why? Because he is a self-existing being. The bee says, the one who created me gave me existence, is the one who gives existence to all beings and everything. Of course, the materialist worldview, I spoke a lot, but materialist worldview twists this understanding and in a very simplistic, illogical way presents their idea that everything is made up of the same matter. Stupid to me. Because they say, oh, all right, look at this. For example, let's say there are 1,000 houses here, different houses. And all of them are made up of stone, let's say. Simple. So, well, look at them. They are very simple. Why? Because they are all made up of stone. But every house is different. Every house needs an architect. So, also plan. So, a conscious choice. Because none of the houses are exactly the same. There are no different. It means choice is there. We have to understand that this trick they are using, reducing the matter which is consisted, made up of. But They use this language. They are made up of atoms. They are made up of particles. But they are so simple-minded people. Really, they are very clever in making how do you say experiences and trying to understand how the things are working by themselves. That is their prejudice. Some of them, not all of them. We have to understand that the simple people say the things are made up of. Okay, look at the language. Made up. What is the agent who makes it? What makes it? No. Stones. But they are made up of stones. This house is made up of stones. But it doesn't explain that stones are the maker of the house. The particles are the maker of bees, are the maker of any other animal or other beings. So they are made up of the same kind of particles, but it doesn't explain who is making them so that they are made. Made by what? I'm really disgusted with their language and tricks as I notice more and more which kind of trick they use. It is disgusting, really, it is very inhuman. But forget about their stupidity or obstinacy, actually, being very obstinate about their prejudice that they are not going to accept God, they are going to reject religion because some other reasons, and looking for an excuse. But at least we have to understand this and understand how the trick is going on there and what the Quran is teaching, how Quranic teaching makes sense, indisputable, and satisfy human feelings, expectations, together with, of course, primarily human mind, reasoning. Yeah, I understand that every house needs an architect in this world. So the universe needs an architect. Every part of the universe needs an architect. Simple example, the sunlight reflects in a very small mirror-like or shiny object. You investigate that, this light, the quality of the light manifested in it must be produced by something else. And this is the, of course, analogy. We know that it is coming from the sun. But this is a created word. Analogies can be only given within the created word, but we have to multiply it by infinity. So in order to understand God, or the relationship between the created world and their creator. So we see another particle, same quality of the light, It is only a human conclusion that we say, then all this light, manifested everywhere with the same quality light, must belong to one source, which is, in the example, the sun. Human logic can really accept it, confirm it easily, cannot really deny it. So the same qualities must come from the same bear. So in each creature, how small, how big, regardless, all the qualities, absolute power is needed. Where? Everywhere, in everything, in the existence of everything, in the existence of every quality that we observe manifested on the things, has the same quality, which is absolute, infinite power, infinite knowledge, etc. it really makes a complete and consistent sense to human mind as far as I can see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali, for sharing that. Okay, so makes sense, alhamdulillah. So we'll continue unless anybody has a comment to make. So very briefly, the meaning of the final Arabic sentence is this. Since the people of misguidance do not know the unshakable truths of the above steps, so this is the 9th step in terms of how mysterious this universe is, when we are analyzing all the qualities that we observe in this universe. Since the people of misguidance do not know the unshakable truths of the above steps, and since creatures come into existence extremely easily and extremely quickly, creatures come into existence extremely easily and extremely quickly. They imagine their formation of whatever's coming into existence and creation. They imagine their formation and creation through a maker's infinite power to be self-formation, and that they come into existence of themselves. So because the things are coming into existence so easily and extremely quickly, their formation and creation, which necessitates maker's infinite power, is assumed to be self-formation. They have thus opened for themselves the door of, in every way impossible and precluded, superstitions which no mind and not even delusion could accept.
They means?
The misguided, the ones who think that because of the things coming so extremely quickly that they're self-forming themselves, coming into existence by themselves. For example, in that case, every single particle of every animate creature would have to be ascribed to infinite power, knowledge, an eye that sees everything, and power sufficient to execute every art and skill. So everything must have the power to give existence to itself. They have thus opened for themselves the door of in every way impossible and precluded superstitions which no mind and not even delusion could accept. For example, in that case, every single particle of every animate creature would have to be ascribed an infinite power, seriously, knowledge, and eye that sees everything, and power sufficient to execute every art and skill. Thus, by not accepting a single God, they, referring to the impossibilities that have been mentioned, are bound by their ways to accept gods to the number of particles, and thus deserve to enter among the lowest of the low of hell. Yep, I mean, the way existence is so wonderfully coming into it, for us in front of us, that we get accustomed to it and we just don't pay attention to that. There's an agent behind it, and it is all happening through a maker's infinite power. I think somebody's mic was on or something. Would anybody want to talk or something? Nobody? Okay, I thought I heard something. Yeah, but go ahead, anybody, if you want to say something. Yeah, is there any question? Brother Ali, go ahead.
I didn't open the mic, but since you said, okay, you gave us the opportunity to say. Now, we have to be careful at this stage or in this subject to blame people. I presume and feel that in my own research, I understand that most of the people who just repeat the language of this fashion nowadays among the so-called scientists, they use it in a way without really serious thinking, and because of they take it as a the vocabulary or the terminologies of the discipline, not because they really believe in it. The people, some of them, of course, very, very rare of them, they really believe in it. But if you really speak to them in a friendly way, not in an argumentative or a debate manner, are you really absolutely sure that there's no really creator behind these all actions? They will say, I don't know really. That is my, how do you say, living. I'm making my living out of this work. This is my profession. Because this is important, because we should not imagine certain people are doing this while we are arguing here, as if we are really, as the text says, sending them to hell. Now, but this idea, it deserves to go to hell, the lowest of the low of hell. This idea, this attitude, hell represents what? Anything which has no reality. So it means this idea must be put in the category of that which has no reality. That's it. But if someone subscribes it, 1%, 10%, 50%, depends on the person. We don't know. We cannot say anything about any particular person. So this person also has the share, 10%, 20%, as much as he really confirms it consciously, deliberately. Now, isn't it the case with the believers? If I say I believe in God, it means my conviction in God as the creator has only value as much as I'm satisfied with it. 1%, 20%. So the wisdom scholarship explains that the paradise and hell has infinite degrees. In the Quran also, paradise, Eden, or the Firdaus, such and such names are ascribed to paradise, different. And also there are various words in the Quran employed to hell. It means the degrees, different degrees, density of reward, and God forbid for us, then its density of hell. It means pain, lack of satisfaction, sufferings in the hereafter. We have to see ourselves as not perfect believers, and also we have to reflect this understanding on the other side. Those people use this materialistic, secularist language in their researches. Also, like us, we don't know how much really convinced about their secularist ideas and confirming it. So we have to be sure that while we are speaking, we are not referring to human beings. That's what I wanted to share with you.
Alhamdulillah for clarifying about the ideas rightful or wrongful ideas rather than an individual human being. All right, so I think this is probably last two paragraphs of them. As for the people of guidance, the powerful truths and irrefutable proofs, the powerful truths and irrefutable proofs of the above steps afford to their sound hearts and straight minds, so nothing conditioned, but sound hearts, free thinking, sound hearts, and straight minds, the firmest conviction and most powerful belief and assent at the level of the vision of certainty, so that they believe without doubt or misgiving and with peace of mind that in relation to divine power, there is no difference between stars and particles, or the smallest and the largest. For all these wondrous things occur before our very eyes, and every marvel of art confirms the assertion of the verse, your creation and your resurrection is but as a single soul. Your creation and your resurrection is but as a single soul, which is section, I think, 31, verse 28 of the Quran. Or no? 49. Okay. So every marvel of art confirms the assertion of the verse. Your creation, your resurrection is but as a single soul. So if coming from this, with the way things are coming into existence, the particle being the similar as the stars, there's no difference in the coming of existence of a star versus a particle. Same thing, the one who gives life is the same that gives death, so it's the same. Creation and the resurrection is but as a single soul. This is how I think we can understand, like coming from whoever gives us existence, creates us in that way. That gives the immensity of his power, knowledge, will. Would anybody like to comment on that? So let me just finish this paragraph and then we can go back. And testifies that what it states is pure truth and reality. And through the tongues of their beings, they declare God is most great. We too declare God is most great to their number. And with all our strength and conviction, we affirm the verse's claim, and we testify with innumerable proofs that what it states is pure truth and reality. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save that which you have taught us. Indeed, you're all knowing, all wise. O God, grant blessings and peace to the one whom you sent as a mercy to all the worlds. And all praise be to God, the sustainer of all the worlds. Okay, so who would like to comment on this particular verse? Your creation and your resurrection is but as a single soul. We have a few minutes left if anybody would like to share their thoughts or understanding. I think it's related to the subject we just discussed. All right. Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Isn't that somehow easily understandable that if everything refers to an absolute being, so for the absolute being, either creating one small honeybee or creating the whole earth or all animals must be the same, because the one who creates the honeybee must be the creator of the all animals. So on the flip side, we can say the same things from the backward to the forward. So the one who creates all animals like one animal, it means my creation and my resurrection it means recreated again. We can understand resurrection in two senses. In two different, I mean, for example, I am resurrected because I was young and not anymore. I am created in another form, or continuously I am recreated and recreated, resurrected. It means my creation has been renewed continuously, as every being's creation is renewed continuously. So we understand that the one who does it, my creation and the creation of the whole universe, is the same for the absolute one. This is simple to me. Also, the human beings may think that the act of creation is taken one by one, following, as we see it, God created yesterday, and today God created another day, tomorrow God will create another day. That is our language, that is our understanding. For the absolute being, the creation is one event altogether. Otherwise, we cannot really explain the existence of the universe as it witnesses itself, that its creator is an absolute being or must be an absolute being. So that is a logical conclusion, that our creation and our resurrection being recreated again, as if only one thing is created and recreated again as far as the absolute creator is concerned. This was our conclusion. As long as we conclude logically that in a convinced way that the creator must be absolute, everything is for us. We say that everything must be possible for him at the same time, with no sequences, with no difficulties, without taking any time, anything. That is logical conclusion.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. That was a good reference to the time and space factor. Today, tomorrow, yesterday is all applicable in our language to our terms. But if we understand what absolute means, then there is no subject of time and space. So, and that's how creation and resurrection is a single soul. It makes sense logically. Alhamdulillah, thank you very much. So I think, inshallah, we can stop here for today. I think we've done the 9 steps, so I think that then we'll continue, I guess, with the next page next time, inshallah. All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Hurmat Surat al-Fatiha.